The fourth psalm I want us to think about is Psalm 91. Alec Matier, in his commentary on this psalm, says, here is a psalm for every believer, for every day. And so it is. It's a tremendous psalm of confidence in God, and reminds us that while the believer may experience suffering and evil in this fallen world, he will also know divine protection and deliverance. The picture at the beginning of the psalm is a lovely one. He who dwells in the shelter of the Most High will abide in the shadow of the Almighty. I can remember as a kid, sometimes when I didn't like the sun being as strong as it was, playing a game with my dad as we walked along the seashore, of trying to, as he walked, stay in his shadow. That was not only fun, but it was actually protected me from the sun if it was too hot. Here is the psalmist saying that God has taken him into the shadow of his tent, away from the blazing heat of the day. He has taken him away from fear and distrust and unease. He has provided a place of refuge and a place of strength. It's a lovely picture. The picture of the shadow is brought out a little bit more in verse 4. Under his wings you will find refuge. His faithfulness is a shield and buckler. Two pictures there. One is of the bird that nestles her chicks under her wings, where they find sustenance, they find warmth and shelter and love and care. So, says the psalmist, that has been my experience of knowing God and walking with him. And I put his presence with me, around me, as a shield to protect me, and also as a buckler to hold everything that I wear together, everything that I am together, to hold it together. The psalmist wants us to trust God and not be afraid. The current situation has brought up all sorts of concerns, legitimate, where those who have no shelter find shelter, and the need for those who are without a home to be provided with a shelter. Fear about how we pick up this raging virus that seems to be no respecter of persons. But the psalmist here wants us to have our dwelling place where we find shelter and where we find refuge, our dwelling place to be in the Lord. In verse 9 he says, because you have made the Lord your dwelling place, the Most High, who is my refuge, no evil shall be allowed to befall you. It would be wrong to read this psalm as a promise that no difficulty or illness or problem will actually be presented to the believer. No, again, to quote Alec Matier, he said, God promises deliverance not from the pestilences and problems of life, but deliverance in the storms of life by his presence and by his help. There is a lovely hymn that I want to end with, written by Tim Dudley Smith, a well-known hymn writer, on this very psalm. Let me read it to you. I won't sing it to you because that might put you off totally. I'll simply read it to you. If you know the tune or can look it up, you can hum it to yourself. Here are the 6 verses of this great hymn. Safe in the shadow of the Lord, beneath his hand and power, I trust in him, I trust in him, my fortress and my tower. My hope is set on God alone, though Satan spreads his snare. I trust in him, I trust in him to keep me in his care. from fears and phantoms of the night, from foes about my way. I trust in him, I trust in him, my darkness as by day. His holy angels keep my feet secure from every stone. I trust in him, I trust in him, and unafraid go on. Strong in the everlasting name, and in my Father's care, I trust in him, I trust in him, who hears and answers prayer. Safe in the shadow of the Lord, possessed by love divine, I trust in him, I trust in him, and meet his love with mine.